Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of the Orita Podcast. I'm here with, and Courtney, I'm going to say it and you can confirm or deny, my friend, Courtney Wallace. We've now known each other
Wow.
for over a year. Yes. I'm just going to keep talking so nobody can hear if you confirmed. She's definitely confirming. We met through Ecommerce. We keep bumping into each other at different e-commerce events. And I have been trying to get her on the pod for a while and the schedule's finally worked. Courtney, thank you for joining. I'd love for you to do a proper intro to yourself, to your background, and I'll follow up with about 100 questions.
Can't wait. Thank you for having me, Aaron. Yeah, and I'm so glad that the stars aligned. Happy to be here. Happy to yap. But yeah, so I'm Courtney Wallace. I am currently the head of e-commerce at Dermalogica, professional grade skincare company. And I have been in the e-commerce space for over 15 years, which is kind of crazy to say out loud. My claim to fame is that I started my career at Hot Topic and really helped to establish the social media marketing department before social media marketing was a real thing. I was brought in because I was this eager kid out of college who had majored in journalism and music industry and thought I was going to live my best, almost famous life. And I kind of got to do that at Hot Topic. It was during a time where, hiring a content marketer wasn't even really a thing yet. We knew we needed blogs and YouTube videos and MySpace content. Yeah, it was then. So yeah, I got to just live this.
Did you get to meet Tom from MySpace? Were you guys that big of a deal?
I didn't. He
Okay.
was not on my list of celebs, but I have I could name drop. Like I, hung out with Paramore and Bruno Mars and yeah, just like it was amazing. So such a cool stint. But honestly, what I realized about myself and my interests in that role was like, one, I'm a busybody. I don't know how to stay in my lane. And I'm the like, hey, what's this? And can we look at this? And there's this new thing called Facebook Ads Manager. Like maybe we should test that, And I think that really kind of started my love affair with ecom. I started in more of like a brand marketing role, but being in social media and being able to launch a campaign or launch a new product and have that immediate payoff of, ooh, look, we're driving sales and we're driving traffic and we're driving impressions and it's a little addictive. So I have followed that high through an illustrious career of lots of different brands that I have personally been a customer of and passionate about. And so my transition from Hot Topic to my first kind of generalist role was actually for a brand I still shop at loyally to this day called Unique Vintage. You could probably guess from the hair flower. I'm a big kind of vintage shopping fan, and Unique Vintage specializes in reproduction. And so again, being the busybody that I am, I followed all of their socials and noticed that like they were doing some things that maybe they could do a little better. And so I literally reached out, Facebook Messenger, hey, love your brand, have some pointers, would love to help, and not looking for a job, like literally because it killed me because I love this brand and I wanted them to do better. And it got to the owner and founder and CEO, and she was like, this is so serendipitous. We're trying to build all of these things. You're a customer, you're a fan, you're smart, let's figure it out. It was better than any master's program or education. That was my baptism by fire. We really just rolled our sleeves up and figured it out. I had never done an e-com replatform. I had never built, a CRM program from scratch, and we did it. And it was all data backed. It was based on the customer's needs and feedback. And we really just built this amazing thing that scaled and all bootstrapped and, just a bunch of professional ladies getting it done. And that was such a wonderful experience. And that's really where I sharpened my chops. I was there for a few years and eventually moved on to Too Faced Cosmetics, another pink fun brand. I'm very spoiled and was able to, use all those generalist skills there, but get some kind of expanded beauty and cosmetics experience. Very, very different, but, a lot of kind of lifestyle similarities. And yeah, then from there, I had a stint in a couple of PE-backed, kind of fast growth organizations with Pink Lily, kind of women's fast fashion boutique, and Kindred Bravely, women's maternity, well, only maternity brand. And now I am at Dermalogica, and I feel very spoiled. All of the brands that I've worked at amazing products, amazing team, amazing stories. And I like to say that, again, I've honed this very particular set of skills, not to get too Liam Neeson on you, but and then you can translate those skills, and having that baseline of being naturally curious, of being, driven by data, of understanding the customer, all of those things, keep you up to speed as things change, as you're at different companies, and they're very translatable, right? So I think I found my calling. I'm sticking with it.
Is your calling to continue to be a generalist who just like now has seen so much about e-commerce that you know it? Or I've so many follow-ups, but the first one
Yes.
is you mentioned that. And
Yeah.
it's like, are you trying to sharpen different areas? Is being a generalist change? Like, tell me what your calling is. Yeah.
I love that question. I think being a generalist is the core. And over the years, as I have built and led teams, it very clearly ties into kind of my leadership style. I, joke with the team that, yeah, I'm a generalist. I know about 25% deep across a breadth of channels and skill sets and strategies and tools. And I then need to, be arm in arm with experts that can support me and support the team. But again, having that understanding of, because I am a generalist, I have done all of your jobs. I know the challenges. I know what I'm asking. I'm not as in the weeds day to day. But if I really had to get it back into Klaviyo and build some, campaigns and workflows, I could do it. It might take me twice as long as it takes you, my expert CRM manager. But yeah, I think it is really given me this foundation of understanding and, practical based strategy. I dream big. We've got some crazy ideas that we like to execute, but I understand what I'm asking of the team. And I'm also very willing to be that player coach and roll up my sleeves and get in there with them. But yeah, I think that's where my kind of generalist experience and view really comes in handy with, being that collaborative leader.
One of the things you mentioned was, driven by data, right? I wrote down that quote. To me, a big piece, at least in our interactions, it's very clear that you're analytical and you're thinking not just like anywhere near the superficial, you're so much further down. Is that like one of the core attributes that enables the being that generalist and kind of earning the trust? Or if yes, then what else do you think kind of taps into that? Just
Yeah. Another great question, Aaron. Yeah, I think that is one of those fundamentals where, those same types of kind of data backed, aligning on what KPIs are, aligning what success looks like, aligning on, what that data translation is, which is so funny because, just a random side note, I've gotten in many spirited discussions with my past finance partners, kind of the CFO role, always energetic conversations between marketing and finance. But this idea, coming from finance, is numbers are black and white. Numbers only mean one thing. No, absolutely not. If our goal is conversion rate and we want to grow conversion rate by 50%, there's the number. We grew conversion rate by 50%. Oh, but we declined traffic by 70. So yeah, I can get you this goal KPI, this vanity KPI any day of the week. But what does it actually mean? And what is the output? And what is the story? And what is driving it? And having data are the tea leaves, right? Like, okay, now we're reading the tea leaves. What does it mean? How do we go deeper? It's, you're on this exploration, you're ecom detectives, right? And those are your clues. And that has come in handy across channels, across strategies. Again, just having that curious mindset, that analytical thinking, that detective work of understanding what's working and why, and how you continue then to dig in and validate and further test, and that's how you can evaluate across channels, across strategies, again from that kind of generalist mindset.
it's funny to hear you talk about the metrics. Like I always say, hey, we can make any spreadsheet dance. Like I
Mm.
was a
Oh,
consultant, I
I
can
like
change
that.
an
I'm
input
doing
and show
that.
something.
Any
One of the
spreadsheet.
challenge, yeah, one of the challenges we have, and candidly, like you've seen the Orita journey for a year and a
Mhm.
half, 2 years at this point, is we just started moving up markets. One, our product is more impactful the more data you have, yada yada.
Mhm.
But it was also, we have like at the smaller companies, you have a lot of people who are gold on a channel's performance and not on the business's performance.
Exactly.
And so I remember distinctly one conversation with a, early career CRM manager who was so excited about Arita. And I was like, look, if I could increase your KAV or Klaviyo attributed, whatever, but hurt the top line business, or I can make the business much more profitable and grow faster, but Klaviyo attribution drops because it's not actually an email that calls a sale, yada, yada. What do you prefer? That was like a really hard question to answer because the person is gold.
Right.
I think my question for you is, as a marketing leader and as an e-commerce leader, right? It's like you've worn all the hats, so I'm going to keep bunching them together. So take it however you want. How do you help your team actually keep their eyes on the prize of like, actually what we need is profitable growth for the business, or, you might have some other goal, and not just like have channel one pull from channel two, or like have these metrics that are actually like hurting the path.
Yeah, exactly. I've used that phrase a lot. There's a couple of things that I think, again, wearing all of these hats in the past really helped me, right? Because I've made mistakes earlier in my career of like, wow, look at one of my favorites. As a new social media marketer, really upset the Ecom team at Hot Topic because we had this great idea to do this. I think it was Harry Potter themed. It was years ago, but this scavenger hunt on site. We were driving all of this traffic to site. We didn't tell the Ecom team that we were doing this. We were a little siloed at the time. So the Ecom team is completely freaking out. What is going on? Our conversion rate is tanking. Where is all this low quality traffic coming from? I'm just like, do. This is such a cool engagement, But again, because there wasn't alignment on what this means and what the goal is, and like, okay, guys, we're going to do this thing. It's going to be really great for branding. It's going to be really great for engagement. You're going to be able to cookie all these users later on in the journey, but you're going to get a ding to conversion right now, right? Like, let's just call a spade and keep an eye on it, but don't panic. There was not that communication, so there was panic. So communicating, aligning on goals, eliminating silos. We are a hybrid. I'm at my very pink home office today. I didn't think about it. I should have done Dermalogica office because I have a big daily mic like on my wall. I'll have to send you. You've seen it. I think we've had meetings when I'm in office. Anyways, we're in office a couple days a week, which is really great for collaboration. But then I also, put things in place. Like we're in one of our big tentpole events, and I have a tentpole base camp Slack channel where it's like, okay, every channel, these are your KPIs, report back on what's happening, but here are overarching targets and our overarching goals. Whoa, we're spending a lot in Meta, but ROAS is not where it needs to be. Paid search looks like it's doing a lot better, but collectively, we're not hitting that top line target. So where do we need to adjust? Where do we need to adjust spend? Where do we need to adjust, strategies and goals? But I have this, general philosophy we talk about a lot. We start at the beginning of the year with, a dream, which is the budget process, right? Just targets. And this is what our magic ball says that we think things are going to do. And then, ChatGPT shows up on the scene and your organic traffic is down 20%. But there is this idea of like, this is where we're headed and this is what the mix is. But now we need to hold hands and understand how these channels are interacting, where we may intentionally need to steal from Peter to pay Paul, like where we need to adjust. But the idea is we still want all boats to rise. Like our top line goals, our revenue targets, our customer acquisition targets, that's the North Star. And how we kind of get there shifts and changes, but we have to communicate, and we can't have these conversations of like, paid socials growing 100% year over year. Well, wait, actually, we're taking away from another channel and stealing attribution. Or same thing as you mentioned. Yeah, you can make email look really good, but if you're just sending a lot more and touching the same people that would have kind of done what they were going to do anyway, it's not incremental. So that's kind of my second point is I have never been at an org that from like a leadership level, our CEO talks about it routinely, incrementality. So even for us outside of ecom, we are looking at, we have business at Ulta, we have business at Sephora, we have a thriving Amazon business, and it is this all boats rise. Taking it even out of ecom, we have these top line goals for the business for North America. And if we launch a marketing campaign that's top of funnel, we want to make sure there's a halo effect across all channels. If we are increasing spend in Meta, we're using incrementality tools. We use Measure to ensure that we're not just spending more dollars on people who would have taken those same actions regardless. We are really measuring, are we changing behavior? Are we driving incrementality? So it's that communication, that top line North Star goal, and then really, really trying to measure
I appreciate the simplicity. Obviously, there's so much the devil in the detail, like even just aligning and having a goal. One point of tension that I'm super curious about, we are a data-driven company. Like the whole business of Orita is like, look at a ton of data, help you, and then prove it out and prove out incrementality, et cetera. The tension is for a marketer, sometimes you're doing something because it's like, hey, in 3 months, I think this is the right bet today that's going to pay off. And there's no chance you're going to be able to like prove incrementality. How do you balance that tension? And do you have any advice for the super creative marketers who want to go do a campaign that is like, guys, at some point, it's just, you got to trust me, this is worthwhile. How do you communicate that to a data-driven org?
Yeah. Wow, that's an excellent question. And I've been in that position myself a few times. And this is maybe not, I love data so much. You've got to have a nugget. You have to have a nugget. You have to have a nugget of data that gives you a hypothesis to start. It can't just be we're doing this for funsies, right? Or we really love this campaign. We really love this influencer partner. We really love this new channel that we want to test. In order for you to be, quite honestly, taken seriously by your org, right? And to get that buy-in, which usually is actual dollars, right? You need to have that nugget of data, whether it doesn't have to be Shopify data or out of Google Analytics. It can be a customer survey, feedback, social listening tools. This is why we think this has legs. And anything outside of your org too, case studies, network with other partners, other colleagues and other brands. They did this and this is what it drove for them. I believe it will work for us because here are the similarities, right? You really have to have that proposal muscle, right? You need to have a clear hypothesis. And then if you do take that leap of faith, you still have to be able to wrap back around with data, right? How are we going to measure success? And especially for more of these top of the funnel, long tail, not immediate ROI initiatives, there still needs to be measures of success. And that also needs to be communicated in a way to manage expectations of what that payoff looks like, right? To say it out loud that, hey, we're going to invest these dollars. We do not expect that it is going to drive immediate sales, but here is the value over time. And here's how we measure it. Here's when we expect it to be impactful. So it's definitely not, I think too, as, performance marketers, and ecom in general, we've been really spoiled over the years of that high that I chased in the beginning, right? The instant grat. We post this new product, it sells immediately. We, have this new campaign and new customer acquisition spikes overnight. Not everything works that way. And especially when you're in growth mode and you're investing in the brand and you're investing in that long-term authenticity and brand recall. And, especially when you have that longer consideration period or more competition than, typical. Yeah, it takes time. But you also can't just expect as a marketer to march into a room and go, believe me, because I think this is great. Give me something. Give me something to go off of and give me a validation for if we take this bet.
Thank you. Something you kind of talked about was we need to have the North Star, but you also kind of implied more flexibility and like, hey, look, there's a new channel or something's working. Do you think that's changed? And is there more of an acceptance that like, hey, look, we can create a budget, but in 2026 or going into 2027, because of how dynamic the environment is and AI and yada, yada, that we need to be even more flexible than before? Or is it actually the flexibility was always needed and some organizations got that and some organizations were just didn't?
Yeah, the flexibility has always been needed if you want to continue to grow, right? This industry changes too quickly. Customer perception and behavior changes too quickly to just have a formula and stick to it. Brands that were doing the same things 5 years ago and have not evolved aren't around anymore, right? So, but I do think, to your point, just because of AI and again, consumer behavior changing, I think that need for flexibility has accelerated. And I'm very fortunate that I am a part of an org that understands that at a top line leadership level. Our CEO runs Claude analysis for fun. He's very much in it and he very much understands that we need to move quickly and innovate. So it's really baked into our ways of working. We have I have a testing budget that I'm very protective of, that really kind of sits outside of, again, those North Star goals. So we still kind of have to hit those at a baseline, right? We have our sales channel goals, we have our profitability goals, but there's this little experimental bucket that, we always talk about. We've got to test things this year that are going to help us next year, right? We've got to kind of work out the kinks, validate if this is something we can chase. And if it is, that becomes a building block for future, right? So it's this idea that you have to continually invest in your future. And if you are not as lucky as me to be part of an org that understands that, that does become your challenges as a marketer, as an ecom lead, to again make that case. Here in the industry, use ChatGPT or Claude to help you make the case, right? Like, what are the, trend reports, market analysis, that really validates that this is something that is going to be impactful 6 months from now that we need to get on now? What are those nuggets of data in our analytics that tell us, like, hey, there's something here if we just keep scratching? And really future proofing your business in that way is something that leadership has an appetite for, but sometimes it may just need to be prepared. There needs to be a little presentation, in getting that to be
Heard.
accepted. So yeah, heard and yeah, all the analogies. But
As you and I are both great leaders who listen to, we're never stuck in our own ways. So of course our bosses. You've mentioned testing a couple of times. You just talked about testing now for next year, your test budget. But my sense from discussions with you in the past is you guys run an insane amount of experiments as well. How do you think about the things that are worth testing,
Mhm.
whether that's like put aside like softwares, but like literally just
Mhm.
like the site experience, the customer,
Yeah.
whatever you want to decide.
Mhm.
Of all the choices you can make, how do you prioritize what to test and where to just be like, look, it's good enough right now. We don't need to keep iterating.
Right. Again, Dermalogica is such a data-driven testing encouraged environment. It really is in just all the conversations and the ways that we think about the business throughout the org. So we're encouraged to break things, like, don't just sit around and it's working. So it's working. So, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. No, break it so you can make it better. But that said, we do kind of have two testing paths and philosophies. So when I speak about the testing budget, that really is for new partners, new channels, like very much net new outside of our normal day to day, those incremental pieces. Our day to day testing is built into our department and our ways of working. So, as far as UX testing, customer testing, category testing, there's so many things that we can do and there's so many things that we want to do. So we talk about this a lot. We could do it, but just because we could doesn't mean we should. So how then do we prioritize? Not to sound like a broken record. You want to guess? You want to guess how we prioritize? Data.
Gut feel.
Yeah,
No? Okay. No.
just the sky is green today, so we're gonna do this thing. No, it's again all data back. So we utilize we're really great. I have a wonderful UX manager who is just, again, like, super curious, snooping around the site, constant QA, constant monitoring. We utilize Clarity. We have a few AI workflows that run that Clarity data through, kind of flag for friction points or, high traffic areas of the site that are seeing, sudden declines in conversion or are seeing a really high amount of time spent on site, but a really low conversion. Is that intentional? Are we sending a lot of top of funnel traffic there? Is there something else that's broken? So again, it is a lot of that digging, but at the end of the day, it is a, scale of impact, right? Like, this
Hmm.
is what's popping up. This seems like a really big bottleneck, lots of traffic, lots of conversion opportunity. We're going to do this first, and then we'll do this one next. And it really is about that, juice for the squeeze, right? How much we're going to get out of expending the effort for that test.
I mean, if I'm abstracting a little bit, right, to try to make this for
Mhm.
other brand owners or whoever's thinking,
Mhm.
it's having the North Star, being
Mhm.
data driven, but also having a culture of testing and like the
Yes.
conceit of everybody is shared goals and you're trying to win as a brand.
Yes.
Last night, I had a conversation with a buddy who was at a public company reporting to the CEO
Mhm.
as like, or through like, maybe it's Skip, whatever it is, but like as
Mhm.
a 0 to 1 products person
Mm.
and is doing a lot of tests and wins a test and then hands it over to the product org and the product org rejects it because the stress for the product org is they want the credit for the thing. And I've talked to this guy for months now and I'm just like, you got to go. But it's like such a
So
fascinating role.
yeah.
Obviously a different situation, but I think it is such an interesting contrast to me that like you talked about from the CEO down, you guys are data plus testing and have
Mhm.
that shared goal. Um, Courtney, I actually want to linger a little bit on like the
Mm.
org structure stuff. There are a lot of brands with a lot of different structures.
Mhm.
You've had a marketing hat, you've had an e-commerce hat. I'm sure sometimes there's one without the other in the org.
Yeah.
If you think about, and again, you're working at like fast growing brands and
Mhm.
complex and multi-channel and all the things. When there is that head of ecom and that head of marketing role,
Mhm.
what are the ways to make sure that is a very successful relationship? And where are the points of tension for people to get
Yes.
ahead of? And, and we can get beyond like, hey, make sure you communicate. But like, where
Mhm.
do you see there being the most tension? And where do you
Yep.
see there being the most success?
Yeah. Head of marketing, brand marketing, and head of ecom should be best friends. And as any best friend relationship, you are going to have disagreements. And so, beyond communication, right? Like navigating those, there has to be that mutual understanding, mutual respect of each other's strengths and, unique inputs into the business. But again, I think it starts at the level of what are our collective goals? And if this is the path that we're running down, what tools do you bring and what tools do I bring? Right? How do we contribute to this shared vision? And then as things start to materialize, there should be a healthy tension between marketing and performance. At Dermalogica, at many of my previous roles, there is this idea of yes, we want, again, data back. We want success. We want to drive sales. We want to, have profitability goals and targets. But I could do that without brand, right? Like I could go run some crazy sale tomorrow that, hey, it's hitting our targets. It's driving sales. It's accomplishing this goal, but it is removing that very valuable filter and safety net of what is best for the brand. What is the brand vision? What is the brand voice? What is brand equity? And again, that brand marketer may not necessarily appreciate that, this beautiful vision for storytelling that they have doesn't translate to ecom, right? So now we have to have those uncomfortable conversations of here's what's appropriate for this channel. We're not going to do that over here, right? And again, it is not about ego. It is not about, being stubborn or protective of your channel. It is really about understanding how those roles fit together and what those kind of decision points are, right? I make decisions about KPIs and performance. You make decisions about what the brand voice is, how it should look, what we don't do as a brand. And now we have to compromise, right? And again, a lot of it comes back to testing. So even some of the, more brand driven things can be tested and we hold hands and we say, okay, these are our kind of two top of funnel headlines. What is translating? What is driving those goals? Very different from ours, but those goals that then trickle down full funnel marketing, right? Is it the skin expertise tagline? Is it the 40 years of skincare tagline, right? And so once we understand what that is, again, that little bit of performance lens, then we can really lean in and we can partner together. And I mean, same thing, even as you go down the funnel, right? Like there are certain assets that, we may think, hey, this is the template for what performs, and brand comes in and says, we really want to try this from an influencer standpoint or something else that we've seen in the market. And instead of it just being, oh, no, we don't do that, it is, all right, let's try it out and let's have that head-to-head test and continually test and continually be open to new ways of working, but it is that push and pull from both very valuable ways of thinking. And so it really does come down to that partnership.
Has your calculus changed about what you want to bring in-house and have be expertise versus external, whether it's agency or
Mhm.
technology partner? And obviously, being at Dermalogica versus any other company, there's a way that Dermalogica works, but almost like regardless of what brand you were at, how
Yeah.
has your analysis changed or how do you think about kind of building now?
Yeah. I mean, it's a constant conversation of build versus buy, right? So think you have to be very this comes back to priority, right? What are the things that are closest to your brand that you really want to keep close to the chest, that you want to have the most control over, that you want to have, that day-to-day touch point? Because even the absolute best agencies, right? Like you are one of many on their dance card, right? So I think it is very unique to the org, right? Is it UX that's top of mind? Is it, you know, CRM could not be understood or handled by anyone externally. We need that owned and arm in arm with our brand marketing and on and on and on. I think where I really make the evaluation is kind of twofold, right? Very practically from a P&L standpoint, what are our needs? What would it cost to have a full-time role in-house, and what would the output of that role be versus can one person really do this job or do we need a small army? And that's where agency comes in, right? And sometimes it's a mix of both. That really is more, I would say, on the performance marketing side, right? Do we need a search agency? Do we need a paid social agency? How does that kind of fit in with our priorities and where we need the most control? When it comes to technology partners in this build versus buy, I'm in a unique position at Dermalogica because, again, because of our leadership, because of how ahead of the curve we have been on AI, we have a whole department called digital disruption, just to give you a flavor. Like they're the ones that were talking about AI before it was cool, that were, hosting AI agent building sessions internally before those were popping up at Shop Talk, right? And so we have a lot of resources and we have built a lot of tools internally. But I think in any org, there is this idea of what are your internal specialties? Are you developers? Are you looking to build technology or are you marketers? Right. And again, weighing out that if we built this ourselves, what would it take? And what's the kind of functionality difference between someone who specializes in that, right? And I think it's become a real challenge for kind of platforms and vendors because now there are so many tools in the space, right? Like just a couple years ago, orgs that were kind of ahead of the AI curve all of a sudden could build things on their own that other partners were selling as these magical tools that were really just kind of a skinned version of like a better chat GPT, right? Oh, we've got a sales agent for you on the site, right? Well, we can kind of do that ourselves. So then the evaluation becomes it's a higher bar of technological uniqueness and skill and differentiation in the market that a vendor needs to pass for us to
Yeah.
go, yeah, we can't do that. We need your proprietary offering.
It's funny. There are a lot of products that were on our product roadmap that we've just decided not to build because we're like, if we could build it in a couple days, it's not worth building.
Yep.
What we're doing instead with a lot of those things is we're actually building out, it's not open sourcing, but we're like, hey, here's the playbook. If you want to get better at inbox placement, here it's free. Like we're not going to
Wow.
support it, but here you can go do this yourself. Like
Wow.
this is not a it would be a
Yeah.
hard problem for me to have solved. And like I ran a brand for a decade and I wouldn't have. But if I like had instructions, be like,
Mhm.
okay, amazing. Like we can do this now. And I think it's actually been really clarifying for us. We haven't like formally changed anything, but we talk internally about being like a craft product org, which is we're going to roll things out slowly because we're only going to roll stuff out if it's like actually hard, actually data
Mhm.
driven, actually like not copyable,
Yeah.
which is frustrating because we're
Yeah.
like, we could have a crazy product velocity and be like, Courtney, here's an update. But we're like, we'll just talk to you when we see something meaningful.
I love that. It's so well thought
Yeah.
out. I mean, has there been anything on your roadmap that was your baby and you were so excited about and then it just fizzled out in terms of technology?
It's a good question. I wouldn't say there's been anything that I'm like so pumped and I can't wait to launch and then we decide not to.
Yeah.
I would go the other way and just say like it's taken us a lot longer to launch new stuff. So we launched direct mail 18 months ago and it's a great product and it was like a process improvement.
Yeah.
And now 2 months ago, our CTO, Zach, who's just a brilliant ML engineer, built a ML direct mail product. And we don't compete with the direct mail platforms. We partner with them. So we partner with Postpilot the same as we partner with Klaviyo on email and SMS. And so now we have a machine learning direct mail product, which means it's like actually data driven and it's going to get better over time and. And like we're able to bring it to a brand and the brand doesn't have to start where we have to learn on you. Like we already have predefined weights, as in like there's not a cold start problem for a brand. Like we know when do people engage with direct mail better than anybody else.
Yeah.
So there was that. And then the second was SMS, which again, we were going to launch 6 months ago. And then we were like, the product wasn't like differentiated enough to merit it. The most recent one is Flows, which we just rolled out of an all hands about today. We're like, we have a Flows product. Every brand uses Flows. It would have been very easy for us to go put a Me Too Flows product out and like grow, but it wouldn't have been like differentiated. It wouldn't have been really meaningful. And now we can do some like data-driven time-based flows where we're not telling you what the creative is, but we will be better than anybody at saying, Courtney should enter this flow experience right now. So it's almost like we're just slower because our bar is just higher. Sorry, we're not slower. We're just more, it's like, we're like a fine wine. Is that right? I have so many questions and I'm looking at the time. I'm like, which way do I want to go? All right, I'm going to hit you with a couple quicker ones. For you yourself, did you ever think about, or even now, taking all the expertise and moving into a consulting role or an agency role or even going into the tech side? Or is it always like, I want to stay at the brand and keep building? Yeah.
Built for it, quite honestly. Like I admire you so much. I admire my agency partners, but there is like a certain level of like entrepreneurship and like risk taking. I'm such an A type. Like I like being focused. I like being passionate about my brand and finding a home and, I guess never say never, but I think I found my sweet spot as far as really just like owning and championing a brand and getting that personal satisfaction out of that focus and building.
Thank you. By the way, the grays came after I left my brand and started like serving a lot of other people's brands instead of just like controlling my own destiny. So you've made a wise choice. Kind of somewhat related to career stuff. Part of what I think is magical about your background is you've really worked at amazing brands and you've had such a varied set of roles. So you've made mistakes, you've seen different leadership styles, you have done, CPG versus like more expensive fashion and everything in between. If you're talking to somebody who wants to kind of mimic your career or get to where you are right now, what is the advice? Because like marketing orgs are getting tighter. Is it, hey, just go get any role at a good brand? Like, how do you think about people navigating their careers? Is it they should be seeing a bunch of brands, stay at one? I don't know. I want to open this up to whatever you recommend.
I mean, I'm obviously biased to my path, but I think beyond specifically getting experience at multiple, kind of brands and customer types and even, verticals in a sense, it's more about like the through line through my career has really been, again, I'm a busybody. I'm curious. I want to get my hands in lots of things. And I think as the world is changing so quickly and, the robots are taking over, like the robots will never replace someone who can again, take that data and take that analysis and have that extra layer of passion, creativity, collaboration. And so I would say for anyone who's just getting started, you can get your foot in the door, but as a specialist level or, a role that is a little more lever pulling, learn the skills, learn the basics. It's like poetry or being a writer, right? You can't go off and do something super, innovative and crazy until you understand the fundamentals, but understand those fundamentals and then dig a little deeper, right? make those connections, whether it's actual relationships and communication connections or connections with the way that you understand the business and that you're connecting the dots and the things that you contribute, right? You have to be hungry and you have to be curious and you've got to get your hands in a lot of things. And there are some orgs where you can do that. I think that would be my one piece of advice is if you really want to grow and you're trying to make that evaluation of do I stay or do I go? Are you growing? Are you learning? Are you in an environment that encourages that cross-functional experimentation and playing, right? Are you able to get your hands in a lot of things? Or are you somewhere where they are saying, this is your role, you stay there, stop asking questions, then it's time to go, right? If you're not learning, you're not growing, and then you've got to take that leap if you want to continue to grow your skill set and your career.
How has your work changed in the last 6 months? Like, what are you experimenting with for yourself? What are you looking forward to? Like, what are you trying to get better at or sharper at?
Yeah. Not to be a broken record because I'm kind of sick about talking about AI.
I didn't say AI. I just
Well,
said, how
I
has your
know.
work changed?
I
If
know.
you're going to bring us
It is,
there,
but
that's
I'm gonna
your
bring it up.
fault.
It's completely my fault, but it is so insidious at this point. You can't not talk about it. I keep joking that there was it's June now, right? March. I was in the conference stint. I was out of office at conferences in March. Then I took the kiddos on spring break the first week of April. So there was a good 3-week window where I was just not in the office. I was running around all over the place. When I left the office, it was ChatGPT and how do we, incorporate ChatGPT into our workflows and how are we utilizing this for copy or all the things, right? 3 weeks later, I come back to the office and suddenly Claude has shown up on the scene. And I am literally, who the hell is Claude? Why are we talking about Claude? What is Claude? In 3 weeks, the cycle had completely changed. So again, I think as marketers, as professionals, you have no choice but to keep up, right? I was one of the ones that was like, ugh, AI is ruining everything, right? Like we're so dependent on AI. AI has become my really smart intern, right? Just this extra resource that helps with productivity, helps with those monotonous tasks. So again, if you're entry level and your whole job is monotonous tasks, that's when you need to be worried, right? Because those are the things that AI is going to replace. But again, using it as that thought starter, as that accelerator for analysis, you can do more. So that is really, I hate that we have to talk about AI because everything is AI all day, but I brought it up.
We didn't
My
have
fault.
to. This
It
is
is
a very
completely my fault.
passive, you're putting something
Yeah.
on me,
No,
but it's fine.
I don't
Yeah.
blame you personally, but that is
I
the
appreciate it.
very tangible
Yeah.
change in the last 6
I
months.
love
It is undeniable and inescapable.
Yeah. The last thread I want to pull on is around customer expectations and maybe even personalization. And I'm curious what changes in customer expectations you've perceived. You kind of mentioned it earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, what are you seeing happen and, how are you making sure that you guys are ready for the changing kind of customer needs, whether it's through
Yeah.
discovery or how they want to be treated by the brand,
Mhm.
you name it.
Customer expectations just keep getting higher and higher, right? And I mean, myself included, I'm an avid online shopper. Nothing annoys me more than getting an email or an ad after I've literally just purchased that product. And as a marketer, it pains me. It's like, you're wasting your cents, you're wasting your, ad money. I've already bought. What else do you want from me? Right. So, this idea that the customer, and I think it's a fair trade, right? We're in this world where if I start talking about dog toys, I'm going to get dog toy ads in my Instagram feed, right? So if that's happening, it is a fair expectation that the customer expects on the other end of that, well, you know everything about me already. So talk to me, make this personalized to me. And I think being at Dermalogica as well, it is this very clear tie-in to we are authentic at our core. Our brand is professional grade skincare that was honed in the treatment room. There is inherently a very personalized touch to what your skin needs versus what my skin needs and how we speak to those customers differently and understand their skin health needs. So it really is fundamental to our brand. And at this point, we are experimenting with the tool and the tie-ins of how do we increasingly meet the customer's needs for where they are? What tools can we give them at what phases of discovery that, as they give us that information, that we can then retain it and speak to them very specifically. I think that we've gotten really good at that in CRM and with some of our site experience as well. We have a virtual skin mapping tool, which is kind of a recreation of what is done in the treatment room to understand, what your unique skin health needs are. And then beyond that, there's this idea too of human touch is one of our brand pillars. It's something that we take really seriously and trying to, again, like mimic human touch on a computer screen or a phone screen is a bit of a challenge, but that is a challenge that we're taking head on. And, we have services and experiences like a virtual skin consultation. You can go on our site right now as a loyalty member, and all you have to do is sign up, and you can get in a virtual appointment, a video appointment with one of our virtual professional skin therapists, and you can tell them how, you're concerned about fine lines, or you think you may have eczema, and, I have very sensitive skin, and what do I very specifically need? And so tying all of those data points back to the email experience is something I think we're already good at. Where we're still building and growing and trying to find the right technology is to then bring that forth on the website. And that, I think, again, is that customer expectation. I'm coming to Dermalogica.com. You should know that I use Daily Mic. You should already know that I have sensitive skin. You should already know that, I'm going to be 40 this month and I'm probably worried about fine lines, right? So that is that customer expectation that we're striving in all of our testing and our, platforms and tool experimentation to meet that customer's very high, very reasonable expectation.
So as a Dermalogica customer in the last 5 minutes, what do you recommend I do about the
Well, I am not a professional skin therapist, but I do know
there it is. Okay.
our catalog pretty well. So I have my own personal reps.
I got your morning eye cream.
I
I got some stuff.
know. I can tell you so well rested, just bright and perky.
Thank you. I woke up at 4:30 this morning, but what can I
Wow.
say?
Yeah, I think that it's job. If you're walking
There it is.
forward.
Thank you, Dermalogica. All right, Courtney, we have a couple minutes left.
Yeah.
3 things to wrap. The first one is, before we even started, you mentioned that you're hiring for a role. So I actually you'd be amazing to work with. And obviously we deeply respect the brand. So I want to, if there is like a specific role, share it. The second thing is, if there's anything else you wanted to share that I didn't ask, or you just want to say, great, no pressure there. You've shared so many insights. And the third one is, if there's like another, like, hey, here's where to find me or Dermalogica or something like that. So the time is yours.
Thank you. I really enjoyed our chat. I didn't even realize we were at time. It's flown by. But yes, I've talked a lot about AI. I've talked a lot about, experimentation and, the value of data. And we continue to invest in that on the team and in the org. And one of the ways that we are, growing that skill set and that expectation is we are hiring for a marketing engineer. So it really is, again, this idea of, if you're just pulling reports as an analyst and, not doing a whole lot beyond that, those are the types of roles that will become antiquated in the near future, right? So this idea is bringing someone in who has that Ecom analytics mindset, right? That can read the tea leaves and give direction, but also who is an engineer at heart and understands Python and, BI and all these things that, again, I rely on much more skilled people than I to wrangle. And so this marketing engineer role really is meant to future-proof us so that if it's Claude this week and 3 weeks from now, after I come back from vacation, it's something else, then they will be able to really kind of plug in the data inputs, get us up to speed, and, be that through line to help us utilize the data and utilize the tools in practical day-to-day ways and have that key owner. So again, that really is where we see the department growing. It's where our focus is. And so we're looking for support there.
Where can folks find you? Do you want them to find you?
No, no, I'm just kidding.
I don't think so.
I love making new friends. LinkedIn, obviously. Shoot me a DM, and yeah, go to dermalogica.com and do a skin analysis so that you know how you can be bright and glowy and have your best skin health you've ever had.
I love it. Courtney, this is such a pleasure. Thank you. Really
Same.
appreciate your time.
Thank you, Aaron. See you soon.
I'm Aaron Schwartz, co-founder of Orita AI, where we help hundreds of brands like Spanx, Faraday, and Salt and Stone get the absolute most out of their customer lists. Learn more at Orita.ai or check out my interviews with the founders of Klaviyo, Birdies, Caraway, and plenty more wherever you get your podcasts.